Hi, welcome to Bedtime Stories with OPL. I'm Miss Beth. Grab your favorite stuffy, get comfy, and let's get ready for a story.
Max, what are you... Max! Is that my mask?
Fire.
Another mask bites the dust. Thank you for that.
Bark, bark.
Alright, well. Are you ready for a bedtime story?
Bark, bark.
I have a special one today. It's Elvis Came Home.
Bark!
Are you excited?
Bark, bark.
So this book was written by me, and the illustrations were done by my friend Amanda. So I wanted to share it with you tonight. Alright. Once upon a time in Weaver, Mississippi, there was a dog named Elvis. He wasn't a particularly attractive dog. He had long, gray, wiry fur and light blue eyes. Elvis was energetic and playful, like you, Max.
Bark, bark.
He loved to run and jump and chase sticks. I shouldn't have said sticks. There's not any sticks. It's fine. It's good. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
The only problem was he lived in a kennel. Oh, Elvis loved the people at the Crosby Rescue Shelter. They took him outside with the other dogs to play sometimes, and they gave him plenty of treats.
Bark,
I don't have any of those either right now. I'm sorry.
bark, bark.
Maybe after the story's over, we can get a treat.
Bark, bark.
Okay, that sounds good. All right, good. Oh boy. It just wasn't quite the same as having a home. Elvis had a home once with people who loved him. That was when his name was Houdini. Back then, he used to sneak out of the yard to go play with the dogs down the street. But his owners just could not keep him anymore. So they left him at the shelter one night. I know. He lay curled up beside the steps, all alone and afraid, wondering why they left him. The lady who found him shivering in the dewy grass the next morning named him Elvis. She was a big Elvis Presley fan, and she saw a playfulness in the mutt that called for a funky name.
Bark, bark.
Is that a cool name?
Bark, bark.
I like Max too.
Bark.
Is Max a pretty cool name?
Bark, bark.
I'm glad you like it. One day, after Elvis had been at the shelter a while, a little boy with curly brown hair and brown eyes wandered up to his gate. Many children just like this one had come and peered through the gate before, but those children always chose a puppy or a kitten. This little boy stood at the gate for longer than the other children ever did, studying Elvis with compassionate eyes. Elvis jumped up from where he had been laying in the corner and ran over to the boy. The boy stuck his little hand through the wire and stroked Elvis's ears. You like it when we stroke your ears, don't you?
Bark, bark.
Yeah. Elvis responded by giving the boy a few slappy licks. I want this one, Mom, he said. I can already tell he's a good dog. See, Mom, he's wagging his tail. Are you sure, Ben? Asked his mother. He looks kind of mangy. I'm sure, Mom. This is the one, Ben said with a huge grin on his face. Ben's mom looked doubtful, but if this was the dog for Ben, then this was the dog they would take home. And take him home they did. On the way home, Elvis lay across the back seat with his head in Ben's lap. Ben rubbed his ears and told him all about his new home. He told Elvis all about the tire swing in the backyard and his yellow dump truck in the sandbox. He said his room was blue with glow-in-the-dark planets and stars on the ceiling. Elvis was content to lay there and listen to Ben talk. He was happy. He was going to have a home. When Ben's mom pulled into the driveway, Ben's dad came up to open the car door. He seemed surprised to see Elvis, who jumped from the car straight into his arms. "Whoa there, mutt," Dad said, looking at Elvis. He asked Ben, "Who is this?" Ben proudly smiled. "That is Elvis. Isn't he the greatest dog you have ever seen?" "He's something all right," Dad said doubtfully. Elvis responded with a big slobbery lick right on the cheek. Elvis and Ben spent the rest of the afternoon roaming the backyard. They explored every corner. They raced back and forth between the sandbox and the swing set. They dug holes in the sand and lay side by side, watching the clouds roll by. And Ben talked to Elvis. He told him story after story, some made up and some real. Ben told Elvis about the time that his grandparents took him to the fair, and the time when he was in the Christmas parade, and the time when he fell off his bike and scraped his knee. And Elvis listened, really listened. He soaked up the sunshine in Ben's stories like the dry ground soaks up rain. The whole summer was like that, really. Every morning, Elvis would sit right outside the door and wait for Ben to come out to play. And Ben would come out to play even when it rained. He would wear his raincoat and rain boots, and he and Elvis would jump and splash and have the grandest time. After Ben and his parents ate supper, they would put Elvis's leash on him, and the whole family would go on a walk. They walked Maple Street up one side and down the other, stopping and speaking to their neighbors at each house they passed. Mr. Timmons was always working in his yard, cutting the grass or trimming the hedge. Mrs. Timmons was always watering the ferns hanging from the porch roof. The smooth sounds of New Orleans jazz was always flowing from Mr. Walter's window while he sat in his rocking chair, tapping his foot and waving at everyone who passed. Ms. Foote was always watering or pruning or singing to her roses, while her sister sat on the porch swing and read to her tulips. Elvis took in the sights and sounds and smells every night. He loved every walk, every rainstorm, every sweet summer day. The only thing Elvis absolutely could not stand was when Ben was away from home. He would bark. And howl. That was a very nice howl. He would try his best to get over, or under, or through that backyard fence, but he just couldn't get out. That is, until Ben's first day of school. Elvis knew something was different that day. He waited and waited at the back door, but Ben came to the gate instead. He cried as he told Elvis he would see him after school. No. Elvis remembered Ben said that word the day before, but what did it mean? Ben was so upset that he forgot to shut the gate before getting in the car. But Elvis did not forget. Uh-oh. In no time flat, Elvis was out the gate, down the street, and after the car. Whatever school was, Elvis was going too. At least, he was until he got lost. As fast as Elvis could run, he just could not keep up. Everything around him was different. The smells, the sounds, Elvis did not recognize anything. Elvis walked up Main Street and down Church Street. He walked by the drugstore, the bakery, and the diner. The smells were too good to pass up. He had not realized how hungry getting lost would make him. Whenever he tried to sneak into the diner with the man in a suit, the owner chased him back out onto the sidewalk. Elvis was all alone in the middle of town. There were so many people and cars. He still didn't recognize anything. Then he saw Mr. Jack. Mr. Jack was the man who delivered the mail. Maybe if Elvis could sneak onto the mail truck, he could catch a ride home. Elvis crept slowly up to the back of the mail truck and climbed up as Mr. Jack was talking to Mrs. Fox about the football game. It was a funny thing to watch as Mr. Jack drove through town with Elvis sitting on the back of his truck. As they got closer to his house, Elvis could hear Mr. Walter's jazz and smell Miss Foot's roses. When Mr. Jack stopped to deliver Ben's mail, Elvis leapt from the back of the mail truck and ran into the backyard. He was so happy to be back.
Bark, bark.
When Ben got home from school, he ran to the backyard to find Elvis under the magnolia tree, fast asleep. You good?
Bark, bark.
He was tired from his grand adventure.
Bark, bark.
Ben leaned over and scratched him behind the ear.
Bark, bark.
And Elvis knew as he woke up that he was truly at home.
Bark, bark.
The end.
Bark, bark.
Are you ready to go to sleep now?
Bark, bark.
All right. Good night, Max.
Bark, bark.
I hope you enjoyed our story tonight. We have these great stories and lots more like them at the library. Come find out where your imagination can take you. I'll see you next time. Sweet dreams!